Imagine a movie so insane that Hollywood has been trying to make it for over a decade, and the true story it's based on is even wilder than any script they could write. A billionaire, a jungle, a city built from scratch in the middle of nowhere, workers who rioted, trees that refused to grow, a culture clash that turned into open warfare, and a man so drunk on his own power that he kept pouring money into a sinking ship until there was nothing left. That movie is coming. And today we're breaking down the full story of Fordlandia, one of the most jaw-dropping true stories ever attempted on screen, and the reason two separate Hollywood productions have been fighting to be the ones to tell it. Before we get into the history, let's talk about why this story has Hollywood absolutely salivating. We're talking about a project that has already been optioned twice. Once by River Road Entertainment, the same production house behind 12 Years a Slave, Brokeback Mountain, and The Tree of Life. And then again by Hyde Park Entertainment, who brought in none other than Werner Herzog, the German director legendary for Grizzly Man and Rescue Dawn, to helm it as a full prestige TV series. The screenplay was handed to Oscar-nominated writer Christopher Wilkinson, who co-wrote Nixon for Oliver Stone, and Ali with Michael Mann. That's the caliber of talent circling this story. Two separate productions, two different creative visions, both desperate to crack the same material. That alone tells you everything about the raw, irresistible power of what actually happened in the Amazon jungle in 1927. So what actually happened? Let's rewind. Henry Ford is the richest man in America, maybe the richest man on the planet. His Ford Motor Company is turning out millions of cars a year. The Model T has put America on wheels and changed the world forever. But there's one problem nobody talks about in polite company: rubber. Every single tire on every single one of those cars needs natural rubber, and the British have a near-total stranglehold on the global supply. Their colonial plantations in Malaysia and Southeast Asia control the market, and they use that power to jack up prices whenever they want. Ford is furious. He is not a man who accepts being at someone else's mercy. He never has been. So he does what only a man with that kind of money and that kind of ego could do. He looks at a map, points at the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, the native home of the rubber tree, and decides, I'll just build my own supply chain from scratch in the jungle. He negotiates directly with the Brazilian government, secures a land concession of over 2.5 million acres along the Tapajós River, and names the whole operation Fordlandia. No surveys, no feasibility studies, no botanists consulted, just Ford's absolute iron will point it at the Amazon like a loaded gun. Now here's where the story shifts from boardroom drama to something that feels straight out of a prestige HBO series. Ford doesn't just want a rubber plantation. He wants to build a civilization. He is 60 years old, born on a Michigan farm, and deep down he's convinced that modern industrial life has corrupted the American soul. Fordlandia is his chance to fix all of it. He ships over prefabricated Midwestern-style houses with white picket fences, concrete sidewalks, red fire hydrants, a fully staffed hospital, a golf course, a movie theater, swimming pools, and tennis courts. All of it planted in the middle of one of the most untamed, hostile ecosystems on Earth. He even gets Model Ts rolling down freshly paved streets, carved out of the jungle floor. It is, as historian Greg Grandin described it, a desperate attempt to recreate the small-town America of Ford's childhood, transplanted into the heart of the Amazon. That image alone, Tudor-style wooden houses with white picket fences surrounded by 120-foot-tall jungle canopy, is exactly the kind of visual that makes a cinematographer weep with joy. It looks surreal. It looks impossible. It looks like a fever dream. And that's precisely why Werner Herzog is the perfect director for this material. His entire filmmaking career has been built on stories about obsessed men trying to bend nature and reality to their will. His landmark film Fitzcarraldo is literally about a madman who drags a steamship over a mountain in the Amazon to build an opera house. Herzog has called the Amazon jungle overwhelming in its hostility to mankind. This story is not just his wheelhouse, it's his spiritual home arriving back dressed in a Ford Motor Company uniform. But back to the story, because this is where it gets brutal. Ford makes one catastrophic mistake right out of the gate. He doesn't hire a single botanist, not one. He sends factory managers and production supervisors from Detroit, men who know assembly lines, quotas, and time clocks, to oversee a rainforest plantation. They plant the rubber trees in tight, dense rows, exactly the way they'd arrange workstations on a factory floor. Orderly, efficient, logical. It makes perfect sense if you understand manufacturing. It makes absolutely zero sense if you understand ecology. Because in the wild, rubber trees are spread out naturally across the forest floor, separated by hundreds of other species that act as biological buffers against disease. Pack them together into neat industrial rows, and the pests and fungi that prey on rubber trees hit the jackpot. The trees are ravaged by a fungal plague called South American leaf blight, a pathogen so aggressive that to this day it has no effective large-scale cure, and it is the primary reason why Southeast Asia dominates global rubber production instead of South America. The leaves turn black, wither, and fall off. The trees stand naked in the jungle heat. The rubber never comes. And while the crops are dying above ground, the workers are revolting below. Ford has imported the same rigid social controls he imposes on his Michigan factory workers, and then cranked them up to absurd extremes in the middle of the Amazon. Alcohol is completely prohibited. Zero tolerance, no exceptions. The food served in the company cafeteria is straight-up American Midwestern cooking. Oatmeal, whole wheat bread, canned peaches, and canned vegetables. Brazilian workers, who grew up eating rice, beans, fresh fish from the river, are handed a tray of canned peaches and told to be grateful. They are expected to show up on a rigid Ford schedule, wear numbered company ID badges, clock in and clock out on American time, and on weekends, you cannot make this up, attend square dances organized by Ford's people, square dances, in the Amazon jungle, in humidity so thick you can barely breathe. Here's where it all explodes. December 22nd, 1930. The dining hall at Fordlandia. A supervisor from Detroit has just implemented a new cafeteria-style queue system, replacing the old table service arrangement. The Brazilian workers have spent their day in brutal jungle heat, fighting insects the size of your thumbnail, breathing air so heavy with moisture it feels like drowning on land. They are exhausted, they are hungry, and they are humiliated by every single aspect of the life Ford has designed for them. A laborer tears off his company badge and slides it across the counter to the American payroll officer overseeing the dining hall. The officer laughs. That single laugh is the fuse. Within minutes, every piece of furniture in the cafeteria is in splinters. Crockery, pots, windows, company vehicles, all of it destroyed. American managers run into the jungle and spend the night hiding from their own workforce while the riot tears the town apart. Think about that scene adapted for the screen, the oppressive heat, the slow boil of resentment that's been building for months, the jungle pressing in from every side, watching. And then one man, at the end of his rope, hands over his badge. Christopher Wilkinson, the man attached to write the Werner Herzog series, built his career on scenes like this. He co-wrote The Insider, the story of the tobacco whistleblower, which is entirely built around men pushed past their breaking point by institutions that believe money makes them untouchable. The fit is perfect. After the riot, Ford doesn't give up. Of course he doesn't. This is the man who once shut down his entire production line rather than change a single design element of the Model T. He doubles down. Stricter rules? New managers, more investment. He pushes deeper into the Amazon and acquires a second plot of land downriver, building an entirely new settlement called Belterra. For a brief period, Belterra shows genuine promise. The rubber trees grow more consistently there, and it seems like Ford might finally claw his way back from the edge. The plantation machinery hums. Workers begin grafting disease-resistant strains onto the trees. Hope flickers. And then comes the death blow from a direction nobody could have anticipated. It's the early 1940s. World War II is consuming the planet. And in American laboratories, chemists finally crack the code on synthetic rubber, almost literally overnight. The entire strategic justification for Fordlandia evaporates. The one problem Ford spent $20 million trying to solve has been solved by a chemistry lab in New Jersey, not by 2.5 million acres of Brazilian jungle. There's no longer any industrial need for the Amazon plantation. The whole enterprise, the vision, the sacrifice, the riots, the rubber trees, the square dances, all of it is rendered completely obsolete. In 1945, Henry Ford II, the founder's grandson, who has taken over the company, sells the entire concession back to the Brazilian government. The sale price? $244,200. That's what they received for 2 decades of blood, sweat, and misery. The total losses from the venture come in at over $20 million, which in today's dollars is closer to $358 million gone. The jungle moves back in almost immediately. The American-style houses are reclaimed by vines and roots. The water tower, once the tallest structure in all of South America, stands rusting and hollow over an empty riverbank. Palm Avenue, which Ford's workers paved with their own hands, disappears under green. The golf course becomes cattle pasture. The movie theater fills with bats. Fordlandia becomes a ghost town so complete it looks like the Amazon itself reached in and hit the delete key. It's that haunted imagery, an American city being slowly, methodically devoured by the jungle, that makes the film adaptation such a breathtaking visual proposition. Director Susana de Sousa Dias captured some of this in her 2019 documentary short, Fordlandia Malaise, which screened at the Berlinale Film Festival and won multiple international awards. But a short documentary can only scratch the surface. Any jungle, any culture, any ecosystem, any set of human beings who simply live differently than you do. It's about what happens when that belief crashes into reality at full speed. That theme has only grown more urgent with every passing year. Producer Ashok Amritraj, who is developing the Werner Herzog series, has said openly that the story of a tycoon with absolute power imposing his vision of America on the world is extremely relevant today. The story of Fordlandia has everything a great film needs: a charismatic, flawed, larger-than-life protagonist who is simultaneously visionary and delusional, an impossible setting that becomes a living, breathing antagonist, a clash of cultures that builds slowly and then detonates, the arrogance of unchecked power colliding head-on with the raw indifference of nature, a labor rebellion with a smashed time clock sitting in a museum as its permanent monument, and a ghost town ending that the jungle is still in the process of erasing. Henry Ford didn't just lose $358 million in the Amazon. He lost the illusion that enough money and enough certainty could bend the world to his design. The jungle took everything and didn't even notice. So here's what we want to know. If the Fordlandia TV series actually gets made with Werner Herzog directing, who do you cast as Henry Ford? Drop your pick in the comments right now because we are ready to argue about this all day. And if you're the kind of viewer who lives for deep dives into the wildest true stories that Hollywood is desperately scrambling to bring to life, Bashchaspi sin shuri wa has. Then smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend who thinks they've already heard the craziest story in history, because we promise they haven't heard this one yet.